in relation to the future, the idea that there are two poles, one centered in the US and one centered in China. That was the second reference I made. I see with a lot of positive expectations recent trade agreements. You had EU with Mercosur, you had EU with Indonesia, EU with India.
UN Chief Antonio Guterres cited the FTA between India and the European Union while underlining the need to support multipolarity, noting that global problems cannot be solved by one power calling the shots or by two powers carving the world into rival spheres of influence, referring to the US and China. He said that at present, the most powerful country in the world is the US, and many observers see the future as shaped by two poles, one centered in the US and the other in China. UN chief, however, emphasized the need to maintain dense relations among countries, pointing to recent trade agreements such as the EU with Mercosur, EU's FTA with Indonesia, and the most recent trade deal between EU and India. Guterres added that for a stable world where peace can be sustained, development is generalized, and values prevail, it is necessary to support multipolarity.
In your speech, you said global problems will not be solved by one power calling the shots. Who is that directed to? And with tensions rising again between the US and Iran, what efforts have you made to try and calm the situation?
In the present moment, it is clear that the most powerful of the countries in the world is the United States. Obviously, we see, and many see, in relation to the future, the idea that there are two poles, one centered in the US and one centered in China. That was the second reference I made. And my point is, if we want a stable world, if we want a world in which peace can be sustained, in which development can be generalized, and in which, in the end, our values will prevail, we need to support multipolarity. We need to support a dense set of relations among different countries, and I see with a lot of positive expectations recent trade agreements. You had EU with Mercosur, you had EU with Indonesia, EU with India, you had Canada with China, you had UK with China. So it is this network in trade, this network in technology, this network in international cooperation among a progressively larger group of countries and entities in a true multipolar world that, in my opinion, can create the conditions for strong multilateral institutions and for a world in which the values that are the values of the Charter of the United Nations can prevail.
India and the European Union finalized a landmark free trade agreement described as the mother of all deals, aiming to create a market of 2 billion people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and European Council President Antonio Costa unveiled what was called a transformative 5-year agenda to largely leverage trade and defense for protecting the rules-based world order. UN Secretary-General Guterres noted that global problems cannot be solved by a single power dominating, nor by two powers dividing the world into rival spheres of influence, stressing the importance of accelerating multipolarity deliberately and with determination, describing it as networked, inclusive by design, and able to create balance through partnerships in trade, technology, and international cooperation.
Cooperation is eroding, and multilateral institutions are under assault on many fronts. Global problems will not be solved by one power calling the shots, nor will they be solved by two powers carving the world into rival spheres of influence. It is important to accelerate deliberately and with determination multipolarity, one that is networked, inclusive by design,
Guterres highlighted that global structures and institutions need to reflect the complexity and opportunities of the new times and realities where the share of global economic activity by traditional developed economies is declining while emerging economies are growing in scale, influence, and confidence.